Hello everyone, my name is Christian and welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are going to do a book series review. I'm just going to apologize now and say I do not have any strong feelings. This is a review that I actually was not going to do. And then a wonderful friend of the channel, Amber, basically said, make it the point of your video. These non-strong feelings. So basically, I just finished the Witcher series. I'm actually still reading the final short story collection, but I was not told this was a short story collection before I started reading it because this series is very bizarre in terms of its story. I don't even know where to go. So basically, the sort of reading order that they give on the back, which is more of a chronological reading order. It starts with The Last Wish, which is the first short story collection. Then it goes into all five of the main novels, which I have here, which I'll just attempt to hold up while not knocking anything over. It's all five of these. Goes from the bottom to the top: Blood of Elves, Time of Contempt, Baptism of Fire, The Tower of Swallows, and The Lady of the Lake. And then it goes into this short story collection, which for my reading order, I was told ahead of time on Reddit or Discord, maybe, wherever I started, I guess, the plunge into the series. They said to read this directly after the first short story collection. And then they said, just follow what's on the back after that, because it's all main novels from here on out. Well, that was an utter fucking lie. I am actually not happy at all, because I started reading this book after Lady of the Lake, and Lady of the Lake ended very weirdly, where it just kind of ended right where the story was picking up. And it ends up that there are no other books. This short story, Season of the Storms, is a much later produced or written story. This was written back in 2013, I believe, 2011 maybe, when the third video game came out, which is where I think everybody starts the series out. And I actually don't like the game. I've tried it like 4 different times. And the thing that I get quite hung up on is the combat controls, because I was a big Dark Souls fan for many years when I first started, I think, high school. It was around 2012, 2013. So I guess my second year of high school, I got into Dark Souls. And around that time, The Witcher 3 came out. And so I started playing that game. I just could not get past the fighting controls. I could not figure them out because the combat system for Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and just the entire series is so tight and so well planned and designed. So it's really hard for me to play games at all that are like The Witcher. But yeah, so Season of Storms, which I began to read, I got halfway through, and I was just getting very frustrated because I realized I didn't remember anything else from the main novels, because it's supposed to take place after the main series, is what I've heard from the Goodreads reviews that I've been reading all day today. So I'm just kind of sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, because I was loving this series. This was one of my favorite books to read as sort of a break from the Wheel of Time or Lord of the Rings or Stormlight Archive, all these different books I've been reading. And so I was reading these for 2 or 3 years now, and as kind of like a refresher to get me back into reading. And one of my favorite things with the series is the dialogue. I love the dialogue of the series. Every character is so layered. I can tell all the different personalities, and when someone says something, I can sort of see how the conversation is going to change and morph. And the monster hunting aspect was never what I knew The Witcher as when I was reading the series. I loved of course, the first short story collection, which is all monster hunting. And then after that, I read the Sword of Destiny, which is sort of a second half of the short stories in here. It was published far later. I believe it was after book 1 that they published this. No. Well, I think, I don't know when this was written. On the back it says it's before Season of Storms, which I don't think is what happened. But either way, it's basically part 2 of the short story collection. I read it. I loved it even more, but there was a lot less fighting in this one. It was a lot more dialogue driven. There's a 100-page chapter in here. That is all that one episode from season 1 where we see Porcupine Man reveal himself and then sort of magically binds Geralt and the Child of Surprise, or whatever it's called. That 30 years later or so, Ciri is born and becomes the Child of Surprise that he has to protect and all of that. That's basically the entire story from there. And that 100-page chapter where it's all just a dinner scene, it was that entire episode, I believe. That's one of my favorite chapters of the entire series. It's very well written. There's a lot of politicking. There's a whole lot of drama, everything. I love that chapter. Then after that, I began book 1 and then went through all of the books, and except for Season of Storms, because I was led to believe that that was the final main novel, and it's not. I should have read it after Sword of Destiny, which is the second half of the short stories. That would have been a whole lot better. I haven't seen anything that even hints at the end of the Witcher series main novels, but I think I'm just very disappointed by how it ended, because they make up there's a couple chapters here and there all about the Wild Hunt, which is what book 3 or video game 3 is all about. The subtitle for that is called The Wild Hunt, and that's the entire game, is you hunting down the Wild Hunt. And we had quite a bit of chapters in this series where they were mentioned, they were seen in the distance, and we even have that moment from, I think, the final episode of Season 2 where Ciri sees the Wild Hunt coming at her and then she winks out of existence from that portal world, basically, to use some real-time terms. But that's really all we see in the books. And I had heard many times that there was a showdown at some point of these books, and it ends up that the showdown that I had read was what was in the final episode of Season 2. And so I was just kind of like, wow, like, that's it? Okay, I guess I have to play the games now. And it's something I never really wanted to do. I am no longer caring of those type of video games personally. I'm working my way through Ghost of Tsushima, which is a Japanese sort of action game where you play a samurai. They even have a Kurosawa mode, which is really awesome. Kurosawa, of course, is the best Japanese director of all time, and he did many different samurai films. But they have a Kurosawa mode where it turns everything black and white and has that grainy, I guess, effect on the negative if this was a movie. But I have been really struggling keeping interest in that game and just games like that in general. And so I'm a little upset that I have to now finish the video game to get the final story. And the video game's not even canon. There have been so many issues between CD Projekt Red, who makes the games, and Andrzej Sapkowski, who wrote the books. And if you don't know what that is about, basically, when the first game came out, they offered him either a lump sum of money upon release or a percentage of the sales. And he chose the lump sum because he did not think that the video games were ever going to be popular or anything. So he got like, I think $10,000, 50,000 something back in the 90s. And then, of course, everyone knows The Witcher now. So obviously it did not go the way the author wanted. And so he sued them and tried to get a percentage of the sales. But because he signed the contract and fully stated that he wanted a lump sum in the beginning, that he never had any grounds to sue them. So it was just a really, really bad business decision. But he's still very angry about that. And I don't think the show is really doing anything with the books because there's not much to do with the books. The main story is all about Ciri, and there's a whole lot going on with her. I saw a lot of complaints online about how she's basically the same character from book 1 all the way till the end, and I disagree with that. I think she definitely evolves as the story goes on. One of my favorite scenes is at the end of the final book, Lady of the Lake, which is the thickest out of all the books. I should have had a... something should have gone in my brain about that, but there's a great scene with her where she just finally just kind of lets go of all these different traumas that she's having, which letting go of trauma is not really something I don't think happens, but it's a weird kind of story beat. But she sort of just, I don't want to say moves on, but she sort of accepts what has happened and that she is now a much stronger person because of it. Not because of it, but because of how she reacted and was able to persevere through these issues. That she finally gets out, and oh my god, that's one of the biggest complaints I see is how the story ended. Because the person who has been hunting her down all across these books just lets her go at the end. And Geralt and Yennefer swear a suicide pact with Ciri, basically saying, oh yeah, you can go with your hunter, while the entire series they have been hunting for her, trying to save her from the bad guy, who I won't say who it is, because that's one of the big cliffhangers at the end of season 2 of the show. But, wow. I did not think about that ending, because I was like, oh, there's another book. It will go on that. But now that I'm thinking about it, oh my god, what a terrible, terrible choice. And I guess I should have said spoilers, but it doesn't really matter, because I don't know what to say. I don't think I am looking at this book series as a book series all about the story, which is what I wasn't enjoying in the games either. When I first read the few books, it was all about the dialogue, so I was just happy to know these characters that we have been knowing for so long. Geralt gets involved in a big sort of band of adventurers, but they're more like, I wouldn't say anti-heroes, but he hooks up with the vampire. He hooks up with a Nilfgaardian who is somebody major to Ciri's storyline. I won't expand upon that. We get many different characters. I just remember those two off the top of my head because those were my favorite. And also Dandelion, who his name on the show is Jaskier. He is amazing in these books. I never expected him to be a major character. He sort of reminds me of Tom Marilyn, where he just kind of comes in and out of the story when he wants. And Dandelion is like that times 1,000. You gotta treasure the times that Dandelion is in the story. You definitely do, because I had no expectations that he was going to be in like every chapter. That's a bit of an over-exaggeration. But there are definitely books where he is not mentioned. Even when Geralt is thinking about adventures, he doesn't mention or think about Dandelion. So there's some really weird feelings I'm having with this series, but this is sort of my way to just, I guess, process my emotions, because I'm definitely, I guess, angry, but I enjoyed the books a lot as I was reading them, but looking back, it's like, for what? So, yeah, feeling quite heavy-chested right now, but that is all for today. I'm going to continue watching the Camille Keaton films that are in this nice little box set by Vinegar Syndrome. Camille Keaton in Italy. Those 3 films. I've already seen Madeline and Tragic Ceremony. Love them both. They're great. So I'm just going to return to that. Gonna go back to something I enjoy. This was a really hard video, actually, for me. So thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the weekend.